Alright people, so welcome to Jumbo IAS and welcome to this lecture series called UPSC Prelims Phoenix Batch. In this batch, what we do is we revise the entire syllabus for UPSC Prelims examination, both the static portion as well as current affairs. Now current affairs lectures are going on separately, but today we have gathered to cover the static portion of ancient and medieval history, and we have entered day 4 of ancient and medieval history. The notes for these topics have been already shared with you. So before watching this lecture, make sure that you have already revised those notes. It's very important. Now we will revise these notes again through a set of 30 MCQs. You know the pattern of this Phoenix batch now. Okay, it's very clear to you. Those who have been following us, you know about this. Okay, just follow the daily targets to its very core. That's very important until your prelims examination. All right then. Without further introduction, without further delay, let's straight away dive into the lecture. So let's begin. So ancient and medieval history day 4, and our topics or our targets for today are, well, Mauryan period of ancient history and post-Mauryan period of ancient history. Okay. Yeah. So these are our targets. Let's start discussion on them. Let's revise them alongside MCQs. So question number 1. Consider the following statements regarding the king Ashok. He denounced useless ceremonies and sacrifices. Ashoka's Dhamma emphasized on non-violence. The policy of Dhamma included several measures relating to social welfare. Okay. Now the thing is, we all know that Ashoka adopted Buddhism, but in his kingdom or in his empire, well, people from different religions were there. To maintain social harmony, well, he created his own social code, his own rules and regulations, which were secular in nature. Okay. But he used the term Dhamma. And Dhamma is a Buddhist term. But remember, Buddhist Dhamma is different from Ashokan Dhamma. Because Ashokan Dhamma is more secular in nature. It's for all people. Clear? It's more of a moral code for all citizens. Like in India, we have fundamental duties, directive principles of state policy right now. Similarly, Ashoka created his own Dhamma. Right? Now, in his Dhamma, he denounced useless ceremonies and sacrifices because back then, well, there were a lot of sacrifices, rituals. So he denounced useless, expensive rituals for people. So this is correct. Ashoka's Dhamma also emphasized on non-violence. And why wouldn't he? Okay. In an empire, in a kingdom, basically, if everyone sticks to the principle of non-violence, there won't be any crime. Right? So his advice of sticking to non-violence, his Dhamma of sticking to non-violence was not religious in nature. It was more, well, socially important. Okay. It was important for the state to reduce crime. So it was not more, I mean, yes, you can use religious principles for that, but it was more to reduce crime in his kingdom, which is again important for an empire or kingdom. So this is also correct. The policy of Dhamma included several measures relating to social welfare. Like I said, his Dhamma was more like fundamental duties in the Indian constitution. So they also talk about social welfare, or they also talk about people's welfare. So his Dhamma also included social welfare. DPSPs are social welfare only. Okay. So yes. In fact, Jawaharlal Nehru said before the making of our constitution that we can learn a lot. The modern Indian state can learn a lot from Ashoka. And we have, in a sense. So, well, all statements are correct. Okay, next. Consider the following statements. Second Buddhist Council was organized by Ashoka. Ashoka's Dharma or Dhamma was narrow Dharma and preached sectarian faith. Well, we just discussed. Second statement cannot be true. Ashoka's Dharma was broader. It included secular features as well. Respect your elders. So apart from religion, other moral aspects were also discussed in Ashoka's Dhamma, which create a good society for a state. And he did not preach sectarian faith. In fact, he preached social harmony because he knew that in his kingdom, people from different religions would be living. So if they'll be fighting against each other, you cannot maintain peace and tranquility in his empire. So he did not preach sectarian. Even though he was Buddhist, he did not preach sectarian violence. In fact, he preached that you should respect the monks of all religions. So this is false completely. Now, the second Buddhist council was not organized by Ashoka. It was organized by Kala Ashoka. Second Buddhist council was not organized by Ashoka. Ashoka organized third Buddhist council in his capital Patliputra, okay, in 250 BC. Clear? So this is also incorrect. Now the question asks which of the above is are incorrect. This is very important. You generally make a mistake in that. So both statements are incorrect. The answer would come out to be C. Right? Next. Consider the following statements about art and architecture during Mauryan Empire. So Ashoka's 13th rock edict. What is a rock edict? Well, writings on a rock. Okay, inscriptions. States that true conquest is by piety and virtue. Lomas Rishi cave and Sudama cave were dedicated to Buddhist monks by Ashoka. Yakshi from Didarganj has been one of the finest examples of Mauryan times. Now listen to me very carefully. Ashoka's 13th rock edict, though he has many rock edicts, you don't have to remember all of them, but remember the 13th rock edict because it is also known as the Kalinga edict. Okay, it was erected, or this inscription was made, maybe, historians say that maybe this edict was commissioned just after the Kalinga war, and the famous Kalinga war, everybody knows about it. Okay, generally it is said that Ashoka turned Buddhist after that, though historians dispute that as well, but we won't get into that. In that, Ashoka was, basically it is believed that Ashoka was not happy with such destruction and devastation to get Kalinga. Okay, so he said, and this is a very famous thing, he said that from next time onwards, all my conquests would not be through war. All my conquests, capturing another land, would be through piety and virtue. True conquest comes with piety and virtue, not by war. And he said that from now on, well, he is going to abandon Bheri Ghosha. My pronunciation can be bad in this. And work towards Dhamma Ghosha. So Ghosh is sound, war drums. Bheri Ghosh means sound of war drums. Dhamma Ghosh, he said, now the sound of Dhamma will be there. So he's abandoning Bheri Ghosh and now he's going for Dhamma Ghosh. That's the Kalinga rock edict. So yes, this is correct. Now, Lomas Rishi cave and Sudama caves were dedicated for Ajivika sect. Ashoka did not convert them for Buddhism. Okay, not for Buddhism. So this is false. Yakshi from Didarganj has been one of the finest examples of Mauryan times. So there was a sculpture of Yakshi. You all should know this, that Yaksha, Yakshini sculptures were made throughout India. So the most famous one is Yakshi sculpture in Didarganj, which is one of the finest example of Mauryan sculpture making because the stone is highly polished and a very beautiful image of a Yakshi is there. So this is also correct. C. Remember Yakshi image from Didarganj. It is an archaeological find, so it is important for you to know as well. And remember 13th rock edict. Okay, next. Consider the following statements regarding Ashokan Empire. Rajukas were appointed for the administration of justice. Ashoka had completely prohibited the slaughter of animals in the capital. Ashoka had told that well-behaved people would attain nirvana. Okay. Now, yes, there were officers, Rajuka, in different parts of the country who administered justice and also basically adjudicated tax-related disputes and revenue-related disputes. So, yes. Ashoka did prohibit slaughter of animals because, like we discussed before also, he was against animal sacrifices and all. So, yes. And remember, I told you that Ashoka's Dhamma was more secular and for all religions, not just Buddhists. So, he said that if every citizen of mine, every subject of mine follows my Dhamma, he or she will be a well-behaved citizen. And a well-behaved citizen has higher chance of entering Swarga or attaining nirvana than others. We all talk about attaining nirvana, Buddhists talk about attaining nirvana, but you cannot attain nirvana if not even a well-behaved citizen. So yes, he did say that in one of his inscriptions. So this is also correct. Okay, so all of the above. Okay, next. Consider the following statements about revenue administration during Mauryan period. So Adhyakshas were in charge of collection of all revenues of the empire. Revenue was also collected from irrigation, forest and law courts. Land revenue was normally fixed as 1/10 of the produce. Now, Adhyakshas were people who were heads of different departments. Like today, Adhyaksha, an IAS officer is made the director of irrigation department, head of revenue department, all these things. Okay, so Adhyakshas were head of departments, different government departments under different ministries, not revenue collectors. Okay, so this is false. Revenue was collected from irrigation, forest and law courts, yes. And land revenue was fixed at 1/6. similar to Mahajanpad period. Okay, 1/6 of the produce, Shadbhaga or Bhaga. Okay, Shadbhag, Shad means 6. So Bhag. 1/10 is not Mauryan, 1/10 is more during the times of Akbar or Mughals. The revenue system was given by Todarmal, the Shala system. Okay, we'll cover that in medieval history. So this is also false. The correct statement is only 2A. Okay, next. Consider the following statements with reference to pillar art of India. Ashokan pillars were made up of both iron and stone. Mauryan was the first in the Asian continent to erect pillars. Capital is the third part of Ashokan pillars, which is carved into animal figures. Okay, so the thing is that Ashokan pillars were inspired from Achaemenid pillars in Iran, Persia. So our pillars were very similar to Persian pillars. So the second statement is definitely not correct because the concept of erecting pillars, victory pillars, was not only exclusive to India. It was practiced in Iran as well. So this is false. Ashokan pillars were only made up of stone, highly polished stone, but stone. Iron pillar, the famous iron pillar in Mehroli, Delhi, was during Gupta period, not Ashokan. So this is also false. Now, an Ashokan pillar was basically made up of 3 parts. The shaft, the pillar, above that there was abacus, and above that there was a capital, which was made up of animals, like the famous national emblem of India. The capital part is the national emblem, which has 4 lions, right? So capital is the third part. This is correct. The answer would come out to be 3 only. Okay, next. Consider the following statements about Mauryan administration. Provincial governors were mostly appointed through open competition among masses, like UPSC exams. Regular census was conducted by officials. Both civil and criminal courts existed. Now look, well, merit-based examinations for higher posts in the kingdom, like UPSC examinations, was not a concept used in India. It was first introduced by ancient China. In India, things were the higher posts were given on hereditary basis only. This was one flaw. Now, provincial governors, governors of different provinces, states, were mostly from the royal family. Okay, a prince, cousin, anyone from the royal family would be appointed as provincial governor, not on open competitive examinations. Yes, regular censuses were conducted during Mauryan periods. That's a very good thing. And yes, civil courts existed, which were called dharmasthya, and criminal courts called kantak shodhans. They did exist. So this is also correct. The answer would come out to be B. Okay, this was criminal, this was civil. All right, next.